Welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. This is the final video for the texture triangle shawl knit along. That's right, we are going to learn more about section 4 of the knit along. Let's review what we have learned so far in previous videos. Section 1 was all about creating the garter tab and creating lovely stockinette stitch. For section 2, we learned how to add a garter ridge coupled with lace stitches and a final garter ridge. So we had garter ridge between these lace stitches. This was all of section 2. Section 3, we learned how to combine essentially section 1 and section 2 in what we learned. For section 3, we did some stockinette, we did the garter ridges, we did a lace, and we did garter ridges, and then back to stockinette. It became a very uniformed section. Section 3, as many of you know, took you no time at all to finish because you already knew all the stitches. By the time you got to section 3, you were like, I got this, I'm moving along, this is the best knit along ever. I can't believe I have to wait a whole week before I get to section 4, right? And here we are finally to section 4, and what we are going to learn in section 4 is I'm going to show you how to bind off, because in reality section 4 is a combination of the garter ridges, the lace separated by garter ridges. You end up with 5 rows of lace separated by garter stitch, and you end with garter stitch. The final thing you need to do for your shawl is to bind off loosely knitwise. So here's the deal. You already know how to do the garter stitch. You already know how to do the lace. There's nothing new for me to teach you there. But you might not know how to bind off loosely. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite bind offs that I use when I need to bind something off loosely. No, it's not just using a larger needle to bind off stitches. I actually use a really cool stretchy bind off. So here's what I want you to do. Grab your line by line instructions for section 4. Work your lace and your garter stitches and get to the point where it's time to bind off. Join me back here and let me show you how to do this ultra stretchy bind off. Let's bind off this beautiful shawl. I've got a swatch worked up right here with some rows of lace just to work up and show you how you would bind off. What I would need you to do is we will go ahead and I'm going to have you knit 2 stitches. Just knit 2 stitches, get them to your right hand needle. All right, so here's where the fun begins. Are you ready? Now that you have those 2 stitches to your right hand needle, we want to bind them off. A typical bind off would be to grab this stitch, have it jump up and over the front stitch and off, correct? I don't want you to do that though, because we want these stitches to be stretchy. So I'm going to have you use your left hand needle, go into the front leg of those 2 stitches that are on your right hand needle, and now you will knit them together. You're left with 1 stitch on your right hand needle. Go ahead and knit 1 more stitch from the left hand needle, and then take your left hand needle, put it in the front leg of those 2 stitches. Knit them together and off. You're left with 1 stitch on your right hand needle. So knit 1 more stitch from your left hand needle. Now you take your left hand needle, put it into the front leg of those 2 stitches. You will knit them together. As you continue to do this for all of the stitches on your final row of your shawl, you will begin to notice that the bind off we're doing when we complete this knit 2 together through the front leg is creating some extra fabric, and we get a really nice stretch to our bind off. Isn't that a cool bind off? It's really useful for projects like this where you don't want the finishing to be super tight, or maybe you're doing toe up socks and you don't want your final ribbing to be super tight. You can totally use this type of bind off, and it's extra stretchy and it looks really nice, and it's just a good bind off to use. So there you have it. You have learned what you really need to learn for section 4, because you've already learned everything else. You already know it. And now you have completed the textured triangle shawl knit along. I hope you had a wonderful time and learned some new things, some new techniques. And I really hope that you will come back here whenever you have more knitting or crochet needs, because I will do everything I can to provide a video for you to help you become a better knitter or crocheter. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.